Welcome, everybody, to episode 12 of the latest. We've been, 2025 has been moving so fast, Brad. I'm like, I'm going to take the Chinese New Year, and then that'll be the starting of my 2025. So I feel like I can, get a little extra time to digest all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, everybody. There's so much that's new that we could devote a whole show to the latest. When you said Chinese New Year, I immediately thought of the new Chinese tools plus TikTok. Is it staying? Is it going? Is it going to change? Is someone going to buy it? There's DeepSeek. Alibaba's got one, and there's another one that starts with a K that I posted in the chat with you earlier today. What's it called? It's Kimi, maybe. Kimi, Kimi. There's new models. Basically, you had ChatGPT from OpenAI, you have Gemini, you have Claude, there's Grok with a Q, Grok with a K, Llama from Meta, and now China has, coincidentally or very purposely, at the juncture of the TikTok and the New Year, introduced to us DeepSeek, which is now the number one app on the Apple Store. Not to over or understate it, just to hear that. It's the number one app on all of Apple, DeepSeek. So this is not like some periphery stuff. This is what everybody that has a phone, their number one download. Um, just tons of stuff from China. But today we're going to talk about a couple of softwares because I know people who watch the latest, sometimes they watch for the news, sometimes they watch for like a new way to do your work. And I want to show something about a new way to do work that I've learned in the last like day or two, if you want to check that out.
No, I'd love to, Brad, but before we move on from DeepSeek, because I do feel like there's been so much information out there and
Yeah.
overload. You shouldn't download it because they're spying on us, or right. And I feel like I've seen just so much info that it's hard to wrap my mind around everything. And I had a busy day yesterday. I didn't get a chance. Every minute something new from people I really respect was popping up. And so have you gotten to the point? 'Cause I was going to dig into it this weekend, but have you gotten to the point, should you download the app? Number one.
Well, here's the thing. Let me go on like a 30-second curve and we'll get a few things all in the
That
in the
one-
pot here. We'll
Perfect.
cook up this information. So a few years ago, the one company was making chips for Nintendo, Nvidia. Just to understand what that is, Nvidia, the company that's now worth 3 trillion with a T, $1 trillion, which is about the most valued company in the world. It's up there with Apple or any other like world-class company with an N and then sounds like video, Nvidia. Nvidia was making like parts for Nintendo. So they were just like a good tech company. And then the quality of their parts was so high that people realized as AI became more popular and as computers were using faster computer parts, this Nvidia company could make them, and all of a sudden their value went up because people started paying in advance, buying in advance, purchasing in advance, as many chips as possible. So Facebook bought as many as possible. Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, all these big companies said if we have these computer parts, we can do very fast computing. So all of a sudden the value went up to $3 trillion, like about the biggest company in the world. And in the last few days, the introduction of this Chinese language model, a large language model called DeepSeek, all one word, Deep, SEEK, like a search that goes deep. The introduction of that dropped the value of NVIDIA by like 10%, 15%, like an astonishing large number in like I want to say like 600 billion with a B, $600 billion of stock valuation dropped. And the reason it dropped is because if this new software comes out that doesn't need the latest, fastest, best computer chips, you don't have to buy the expensive ones. You can use off-the-shelf parts. So all the people who said, "Oh, the world is going to need these expensive parts," now it was like, well, maybe we don't need these expensive parts because allegedly this DeepSeek company said, look, it's great that you've made OpenAI and it was very expensive to make $100 million. They said, but does it really need to be that expensive? They said, couldn't we take a couple shortcuts and still get there and still have used a sturdy road? Now, I have not done my personal research, just read articles by other people, but a lot of people are saying the same thing, which is that, yeah, the information might get stored in a computer in America, but every other company that looks like that also sent your information to China. And if I believe what I read, this app will copy your keystrokes. So whatever you type in, it knows what you typed in. And just because it starts in an America-based data storage unit, which means that like the physical building with the boxes with computers in it holds that information, doesn't mean that they don't send it again somewhere else because it's data. It's not something that has to go on a boat or a plane. You can just send it over. So I don't personally, I don't believe any of these companies have entirely your interests at heart and entirely your data being safe. I could be very wrong. I could get told by someone very smart that's not true at all. No, no, no. But it's still my belief that when I put things in these tools, that I'm rolling the dice that it either gets hacked or pirated. So I don't put my passport in there. I don't put my social security in there. I don't put my credit card number in there. I don't put sensitive data in there. But that's just me,
Right.
right? That's the issue that banks
Right.
have and insurance companies that when you have other people's sensitive data, they say, how can I trust this? Because you can tell me all the things in the world, but I'm not there to know. So with DeepSeek, do I trust it? Capital N, no. No way.
Right.
Not
And then
not because of where it comes from, because it's way too new and I have no idea.
and it's powerful, right? And
And it's powerful.
I spoke to my friend Dave Taylor yesterday. He's one of the original coders of Quake and Doom, games like that. But I
Well,
met him.
those were the biggest games for an entire generation. That was the world's biggest video game, Quake and Doom.
Right.
Doom.
Doom. And I met him at Transmeta. And in Transmeta, I had this kind of different type of software-based microprocessor. So I said, Dave, this is great, this DeepSeek. They're able to create so much more on and maybe we'll have him speak on Saturday now that I'm just speaking out loud about this, because the one thing I did see was because I think you're right. NVIDIA, they took their gaming chips. Great, we could use it for AI. Now we've got this huge energy issue because those chips really were not optimized for conserving energy and small language models. It's like if I want to move a box. I'm gonna, have an eight-wheeler driving across town with it. No, we could have our little, Yugo or whatever. I don't know where I got that old
That's a
car.
great visual metaphor to use the largest vehicle in the city to move a single cardboard box.
Well, right, and that's what everything's jumped into. So the one thing I did like about the DeepSeek announcement, again, I haven't dug in too deep. And so first I said, Dave, can they actually use these older, smaller chips to He's like, no, there's a lot of power behind it, so that's not it. But what we both agreed was it was gonna drive innovation, right? So we look at what Intel's been very quiet, as I've been talking about. I feel like they'll be coming out with some things. AMD going through the roof also.
Yeah.
NVIDIA, they have some R&D teams that are working on some of these solutions. And it kind of reminds me back at the end of the 90s, 2000s, when everybody was getting laptops, and then there was this power and heating issue, and a lot of that had to be solved by the chips. As we now go with AI, we're going to start seeing a lot of technology and innovation in this space. So I look forward to covering that on the latest. And that's not the sexy stuff. You're about to show some stuff you were blowing my mind with on Claude this morning, Brad. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have both, right? It's just an exciting time.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said before, we could spend the entire show on that topic. So I'm going to pivot from it before I get excited by it. And then we pivot away from the latest because I feel like that story of the NVIDIA stock, the NVIDIA chips, and DeepSeek and all these other language models is changing so fast that it will probably change by the time you watch this. Like, truthfully.
Totally. And you know what we're gonna do Saturday on the WITI Saturday Connect and Collaborate. I'm gonna bring on some experts just to go through DeepSeek and give everybody an update.
Yeah.
Because
I think
right,
that the last thing to say about DeepSeek is it's subject to Chinese regulations.
right.
And it said, because I think we did on Monday, we had a look at this at Brain Juice. One of the voices in the room had looked at it and said, from their perspective, what you're signing up for is if you break the rules, they could just cancel your account and take all your stuff. And so if you're not familiar with a foreign culture's rules, I don't know that I would risk professional work on a tool. If you just want to play around with a free tool and you feel that there's no risk for your keystrokes going to another company in another country, and you just think it's fun. Big caveat, it seems to be the number one app, so so many people are trying it, you might be cooked anyway, so have your fun if you want, but I'm not downloading it. I don't think that there's any harm in waiting a month to see what happens. So that being said, let's have a look at what I started to talk about. So earlier this week on a project, it came up to talk about Excel sheets. So this is a comma separated value or a data spreadsheet, Excel sheets, Apple numbers, it's all the same thing, right? It's a spreadsheet. So probably because my algorithm was tuned in that I was looking for these things, this pops up on LinkedIn from my new connection, Roni Raman. I saw this Excel plus AI. I clicked it right away. I'm like, that's literally what I'm looking for. Again, it's probably the algorithm. And it says finish Excel work in hours. No, red line, outline in minutes, green check mark, right? So we're going to do this in minutes instead of hours. So I experienced this with Claude, but then he posted a bunch of software here. He posted 10 different softwares, right? And I've read this morning once, so I don't vouch for any of these things, but I want to check this out. So Sheety, SHEETY.co, Sheety, and I've just seen this for like 30 seconds. It says you can make a website from your spreadsheet. So the implication here is that you're in a Google Docs spreadsheet and you've listed the template for your restaurant. So here's how much the toppings or the food costs at this chicken restaurant. And you put it into categories and you said yes or no if it's a vegetarian. And ideally, the output is, a clickable website, which looks cool. I don't know how that works or where the limits are. I want to try this out. If I go to pricing, you can get started for free. That's the best part. You can get started for free. So you either know if it's for you or for not. $9 a month for most projects. Like honestly, people, even if it's $80, which you probably don't need the Extreme Pro, for someone to solve your professional problem for $80 is so cheap. Like you don't have to picture the whole year. You can just be like, if someone solved my problem for $80, I would give them that $80 because all of a sudden it took me half a day instead of a month. Like that calculation has to happen. You're like, if this takes 8 hours and I'm worth $10 an hour and it solves that, all of a sudden that was worth the $80. And I got to tell you, you're probably worth more than $10 an hour. Just saying.
And I think it's important as we look at our subscriptions, make sure you're using your tools. I looked back last night. Many of the tools I have not been using as much as I did when I first signed up.
Yeah.
I think I was looking at the exact way you are, Brad. What's my hourly time worth? And just make sure I'm at least doubling the value.
Yeah, because exactly that. You don't have to use it every day, but if you're starting to save an hour and you're worth $20 an hour and it's $20 a month, it's worth it. So Equals is the one I wanted to look at because it does dashboards. So this is what I was looking at, except it's $40 a month per seat. It seems like it's much more for professionals. Let's give Equals a fair chance. So Equals is the spreadsheet you've always wanted connected to your data for real-time insights. And it looks like it connects with lots of software here. Right? And it says, from the comments, people are saying that they're spending all their time with it, that they love it. It seems like people are loving this. So everything you can do, but direct connections to Stripe and Salesforce and HubSpot and SQL database, which means, for those who aren't familiar, if you have a store online and people are buying it, Stripe is like where people swipe their credit card. That stripe on the back is the stripe of Stripe. People purchasing from your goods and services online, you would have a spreadsheet that was directly connected to your inventory, to your sales, etc. So you would know in real time, seemingly, never tried this, but that's what it says, direct connections to these tools. So all of a sudden, you have the absolute latest in data. It looks cool, right? What I was looking for was dashboards because I was experiencing this with Claude. And I want to zoom in so we don't see that just yet. It's not a perfect tool. There were some frustrations, but when it worked, it was pretty awesome. So I said, let's talk about what you can make in terms of dashboards. And then, the response is that Claude can create interactive dashboards, and it uses the language of React, right? So it's a computer program. It uses components from React, and then it can visualize it, and then user interface elements is jargon for like a button you can click, right? They overcomplicate it, but with a UI element, it's a button you can click. And then here's some features. So it can do charts. That's cool, right? Heat maps and data grids, right? Custom scalable vector graphic visualizations. So, you can look at it, right? Metrics and key performance indicator displays, which is just like, how are you doing? Again, people overcomplicate this language. It's just how we're doing. But here's what I like is interactive elements, filters and drop-down menus, a search functionality, interactive tooltips, a date range selector, and dynamic data updates. We're going to look at it in a second. It'll make so much sense when you see it. And then a responsive grid layout using Tailwind cascading style sheets. It's computer talk. You pick a style, and then everything that cascades underneath it stays within that style. At least that's how I understand that. A component that's card-based, custom styling, and collapsible sections and tabs. That's what's cool, is that you can have different tabs. So I said, to clarify, I can give you an Excel sheet or a comma-separated value data set, and you can make an interactive, dynamic, multi-tab dashboard. It says, yes, I can do that. So it can read Excel sheets, Google Sheets. It can process the data and transform it. It can handle real-time filtering. It can create multiple tabs, build interactive charts, dynamic filters, and says the key limitations to keep in mind. It's going to run in your browser. It's going to use these computer programs, right? And then it's got available libraries from these computer software and icons. And then you have to upload as files. So you can't connect your database directly. So it means that you won't get it real time, which is okay. But the key thing here, David, is I can send this to you. So I could make this for you about WITI or your business or your interactions and send it to you as like a web link, and then you can continue to use it. So then I said, stand up is a new term I've learned, which just means make, but it's like computer jargon for make. Can you make one, right, with fictional data? I just had a business plan for a pizza shop with adjustable numbers. So it did this, right? It tells me what it did. Cool. But here's what's neat, right? So now I'm over here in my Claude window, right? And I've got 3 tabs here: overview, projections, and assumptions. Check out this average ticket price. I can change how much the pizza costs. I can change how many customers come to my pizza shop. I can say, how much does the food cost? You know what? Not much. How much does the labor cost? Not much. How much is the rent? Not much. How much is marketing? Yeah, a bit more, right? And now it tells me how much money my pizza shop makes. You can do this with anything. You can tell it what you want, but the point is, your spreadsheet used to be complicated and you had to type in a bunch of numbers and click the cells and connect them. I was doing that 4 days ago, and then I found it out in Claude. I took my Excel file and I just threw it into Claude, and I said, did I make any errors? Or could you do this better? And instead it showed me this dynamics dashboard. I was blown away. So it's super cool, right? And then at the bottom right-hand corner, right, there's the copy contents, there's the download to file, and then there's the publish. When you click the publish button, right, I got to zoom out so you can see it, the results. It says to publish it. I can just publish and copy the link, and it says you can make it accessible to anyone with the link, right? And then I can unpublish it. If I only wanted you to look at it for a day, I could unpublish it. But you can't do that twice. You'd have to make a new one. You can publish and then unpublish, but you can't yo-yo back and forth. But anyway, this is what I was thinking was really cool, because for anyone that wants to show data, Claude is now doing things like this. And again, maybe you need a membership for this, but for 20 bucks, I got to tell you, I spent more than 20 bucks worth of frustrations trying to show what happens if we have more customers, what happens if the price changes, what happens if the food gets more expensive or the labor gets less expensive or the rent goes up or we have to spend more money on marketing. And then does that make the business better or worse? It was hours of time. So that's, to me, the latest. Just like that might have existed for quite a while, but there's hundreds and hundreds of softwares. There's only so many minutes in an hour. That's what's latest for me, and I'm super excited about it. Oh, and before you go, I'll jump in on one more thing, because then I know you've got a few things, and I'll let you do that. No, where do I want it? I want to share. Here we go. Um, if you're in ChatGPT, ChatGPT now has the stronger model, O1, inside projects. So for anyone that's been using projects, right, in your left hand of dashboard, you click the plus button, make a new project, create that project. And the benefit of creating a project um, is that it knows all your files and it keeps like a folder, um, all the chats inside. And if you wanted to, you can drag old conversations from here over into a project like that.
Mm. Oh, that's great. I did not know that.
Yeah, so there's times where like for like months you've been working on a project and you had a bunch of different chats. You could make a project folder, go through your sidebar and just drag them over, and now they all live in the same place and it's tidier. They're not scattered throughout. So what I did was I used the search function, the magnifying glass in the top left. I typed in the keyword and then just those files showed up. And it's a little bit of a workflow. You have to click on it and then scroll down in the sidebar till you see it and drag it over into your project. But I mean, you can work through it. Um, it's a great way to keep all of your chats in one place. And then when you add instructions to that project, and you add files, all of a sudden your old chats can know your instructions in your files.
Awesome.
I know it's nerdy, but
No, but
I
listen, it's good because I think organization's so good. I mean, even when they added that search into ChatGPT, that made it so much easier. Now projects. Did you try that on ChatGPT too, the dragging? That was on Claude. You showed the dragging of this past searches into projects, right?
that was
Oh,
ChatGPT.
that was ChatGPT. Okay, good because I'm
ChatGPT.
behind because they launched that so late.
Yeah. So the other thing that I said at the start of this exciting, like I'm excited by this. I'm a nerd. That's fine. You can now use the stronger model, ChatGPT O1, that uses advanced reasoning. It's just the bigger, bulkier model.
Right.
You can use that in the project, so you can get stronger results inside the project.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I yes, and I think that yeah, that's interesting. And it'll be good conversation on Saturday just to talk about DeepSeek. All are welcome. We'll get the description at witi.com. But a lot of this stuff, and as I was preparing for what I was going to show today, Brad, which was napkin, I let me show you what happened. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this. And what I was attempting to display was the growth, the visualization growth for all of our, 600 plus WGU members that have signed up over the last 6 months or even less. So what I did was, I created a new napkin. I typed in, I said draft with AI. Maybe that was the fail.
Mm.
And I asked it to that I wanted to please create an image, maybe I'll say graphic to show the membership growth of the members partner. And I'll tell you, WGU is doing amazing things. Just they have so many great programs. People, I think it's the future of education for sure. Here, so then I put here's when they signed up, and then I just pasted in all the dates of each person's membership, right? So then I get to this.
Oh wow.
So it's giving me this, but let's see what it does from giving me now images I can look at. Um,
So napkin.ai, for everyone that's never seen this before, is a free software.
right.
And the
So
outcome is an image. So it's going to take whatever you've given it and you select a part of it, and it will make like an infographic style image. That's the outcome of this.
Correct. So it's still going. I fed it a ton of data.
I'm sort of filling the commentary in because I can see it's loading a lot of information. Wow.
And did I give it too much? It says AI is still writing. So while we're waiting on this, so then what I did, because before it gave me a blank page, I said, oh no, we're live on the latest. So then what I did was, so then I asked, oh wait, all right, it's still going. So then I'm like, you know what? Let me put it in prompt in Claude and ask for a prompt to do it. And I've been using that quite a bit, just the strategy with LLMs and going back and forth with some of these more application type products, Gamma, Notebook, LM, um, other ones to say, hey, hey, Claude, can you give me a prompt for a Mac napkin.ai task? I said, I aim to help, but I should note that I don't specifically have information about napkin.ai. Fine. I might have been able to recreate it in ChatGPT that has the web access, but I continued with this. Or its unique requirements. Can you tell me more about what kind of prompt you're looking for? Specific guidelines. Great. I'm trying to show the growth. Paste it in. So then Claude just did it for me.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
I
so you wanted like a data chart.
Yeah, look, I wanted an infographic that I could add to the report that shows the growth, right? Because then I can help
Um,
them see, oh, we promoted it internally at our event on the 20th. That's why we had this pop. 142
mm,
members, and then over here they sent out the newsletter, maybe, right? So it's just a way to track the data for my
yeah.
partner and show them in an infographic and make my reports, look more appealing.
Um, yeah.
So so
Napkin has a little bit of a different use from my experience that's more on the writing side than the data side.
yeah, so maybe that's where I had the fail. I've seen, and maybe it was just too much data, right? So then it's really putting in a paragraph and to articulate a point. When you create a napkin, do you normally do draft with AI or blank napkin?
Well, I took some screenwriting notes for teaching screenwriting and then put paragraphs into Napkin and turn those paragraphs into visuals. So maybe if you go to Claude, where you had that graphic, and then ask Claude to give you a paragraph on that graphic.
Hopefully, I just called it what they called it.
And
Great.
then if you copy that paragraph, right, just hit copy.
Oh, okay.
There's a copy button.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you seen the? Yeah, that's the
So now if I add it here, let me
one.
replace this. We did change WITI to workforce innovation, trust and influence. Well, so now great suggestion, Brad. Much easier.
Yeah. Right. So now you can select a paragraph. And when you select a paragraph, there's an icon that appears on the left. And when you click that lightning bolt icon, that's when the magic happens.
Got it. Okay, so that was
Yeah.
my
I know
bad.
if no one tells you, you think I'm going to get a graphic. You're like, oh, here's some data. Now
Love it. And then here's where I can go back and forth. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Still blaming COVID, Brad. I think I have a few more weeks of that, you know.
David, there's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 dozen softwares that, the people we know are using.
Wow.
It's like literally learning a new software every week all year. And on top of whatever else you're doing in your life, on top of the updates to the other 25 softwares, like I've made a chart of the softwares. It's literally like 25 to 40 softwares at any point.
Yes. And dig into Napkin because this is just so helpful, right? Even if I was going to say, well, I could do this in Canva, how long is this going to take to create what you want? And now
Yeah.
I can just copy this, paste it into my PowerPoint, right? Surgeon
Yeah.
signups, boom. Here's this. It's going to make a napkin out of it,
Yeah.
which
And it's important to say, David, you can change the colors, you can change the layout, you can play with it, you can even change the text. So if you're like later, I want that to say September, you can just click it,
totally
right? Like you just did right there. You click it and
right. And now I can add images. I can, yeah,
yeah, it's a neat software. And there's a bit of playing around with it. It's free, so
change the colors,
yeah, look at that, right? Like you can get your brand going. Uh
right? Pop in your logo. Love it. And just when
yeah,
you showed me Canvas, Brad, during your brain juice,
yeah.
you guys dug deep into Canvas. I've been using that a lot because I think that's just very helpful to be able to change on the fly.
Canvas mode in ChatGPT.
Canvas mode for ChatGPT, exactly. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think we've given people enough, and that's why I think we've got to give it for the latest in these small bites. I think that's where some of the new users I've spoken to, at least, are just like, I can't. I've got too much going on. And they think it's some extra big task they're putting on themselves. And I think if they look at it, it will be if they're trying to know everything. But
Yeah.
if they look at it as like, give me 3 hours a week where now I've kind of, have an extra 3 hours because I've learned how to use some of these tools to
Yeah.
create spreadsheets or images or whatever. That's where I think we can really start the new users down the road. And then that's what, 150 weeks a year. Then they'll start doing more better. Now all of a sudden they're working like 2 people, right? So
What's always come to mind for me is that if you're going in the wrong direction, the first thing you need to do is turn around. To not just go, well, I've come this far. I might as well keep going in the wrong direction. If you're hungry and you've walked away from the kitchen, it's like you got to turn around and face your goal. And I think with AI, the first thing to do is to face it, to turn around and go, okay, I might be far away from it, but I'm going to walk towards it. And the second thing is I've heard 2025 is the year of leveling up. And I think all of these tools will help you level up. And you can learn them one by one and be amazed. Like for anyone who's never seen napkin.ai, you just are about as capable as anyone else from watching David's demonstration, which is you just paste in some text and hit the lightning button. It is not hard. You just
yes,
hit the button, but you got to try. You got to face it and level up.
love it. This is the latest. And thank you, Brad. Another great show. Hit us up. We have Brain Juice Monday nights. We have 3. We just added a third AI think tank at WITI every week. We have more and more just ways to learn and elevate, right? I think that's what it's all about. We're going to continue our conversation about brain juice at the WITI Summit in May. So I'm excited about that. And you have so many brilliant people as part of the community.
Mhm.
Let's see how we could help elevate humanity using AI and have it all good.
Love it. All right. Super fun episode today, David. Thanks.